struggle with pricing your magic? Welcome to Tools to Create a Better Life with myself, Glenyce Hughes, and my friend Chloe here. Now, for those of you who aren't watching the video, the sweet Rottweiler that we are house sitting right now is beside me, and she's beautiful. Anyway, so do you struggle pricing your magic? Do you have a business where you don't know what to charge for your magic, for your invaluable services and sessions? Yeah, I totally get it, guys. I used to struggle too back in, 2002 when I started my business. I had no clue how to price my sessions. Oh yes, she wants to show you her lobster toy. So I had no clue how to price my sessions. So what I started doing was I charged what people in the area were doing that were doing things that were similar to mine, because at that time there was nobody in Vermilion, Alberta, Canada that was offering Reiki sessions. So I looked at massage therapists and I looked at, they were about an hour-long sessions, which was same as my Reiki sessions. So I charged what they charged, which was $45 a session. Now, that's great. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. However, I was not aligned with that. I was not aligned with that price. And what happens when we're not aligned with the price that we're pricing things at? There's no energy on it for people to choose it. In fact, there's more of an energy not to choose it than to actually choose it. I know. And so what happened was I couldn't even look at people in the eyes. If I met somebody in the grocery store and they asked about my business and they said, "Oh, what do you charge for a session?" I would look away and say $45 a session and look back at them. I could not even hold their gaze. So what I started doing, and this is just one of many, many, many different pricing strategies, but what I started doing, and this was probably a good few years after I started my business, it took a while for me to really start gaining confidence in business. What I would do before I would price something is I would look at it and go, okay, if I were to meet somebody on the street, can I look at them in the eyes and tell them the price? And I would just imagine it. I would just imagine myself again in the co-op grocery store, somebody walking up to me saying, "What is the price for this session?" And me going, whatever, $100. And if I had to go $100 and look away, I knew I wasn't aligned. And that started changing everything for me, because I was now doing business from that sense of alignment, that sense of energetic alignment. And one thing that I've heard so many people suggest in terms of pricing, which is a bit of a problem, is to price what you're worth. Because guys, it's impossible to price what you're worth. If you were to look at it and look at the change that you can contribute to somebody in whatever way you're doing it, whether it's a product or a session or service or whatever, class, doesn't matter. Look at how much change that offers that person. If you're going to price it for what it's worth, it's probably millions, if not billions of dollars. So I really suggest not pricing based on what it's worth, but priced on the energetic alignment for you with that price. Now there's other things to take into consideration, of course. You might only be able to look at somebody and say, "Oh, my sessions are $1." Okay. That's crazy. So there are other pieces. Now, this is a whole invite to a beautiful 2-part class that I've got coming up called Confidently Pricing Your Magic. So we will go through all of that. And part 1 is really about, honoring and acknowledging and getting to your worth, your value, but not from the place where I was talking about before, where you're going to start pricing based on your worth. No. You're going to start acknowledging it, celebrating it, knowing it. And then part 2 is all about different pricing strategies. So the looking people in the eyes, that's one of many. And some are energetic, some are very practical, where you would actually look at what you would like to make in a month. Maybe even look at what you require in a month. Maybe you require $2,000. So then you can work backwards in some places. Like there's so many different ways to do it. So if this is something that you struggle with, I invite you to join us. The links will be above or below. If you don't see them, reach out, I'll get them for you. And that is coming up on February 21st and 22nd of 2024. If you're listening to this later or watching it later, you can still purchase, of course, the recording. So again, just reach out. So with that, we want to be looking at what is it that when we price something, where are we energetically with that? Now, there's a lot of times where we think it has to do with the thing itself, like the value of the thing, and it can be, but a lot of times it's more from within. You know, $45, even back in 2002, $45 for a Reiki session really wasn't a huge amount of money. But honestly, if I was really doing it, if I would have known what I know now, and I would have done it from alignment, being energetically aligned, back then, honestly, they would have been $25. That would have been where I could have looked people in the eye and said, oh, they're $25 a session. Now, it has no meaning on the session itself, whether they're 45, 25, or I mean, eventually I got up to 160, 225, 300. So it wasn't actually about that. It was about, for me, really acknowledging that I do contribute. I do, just by doing the session. I mean, let's be honest, just by us breathing, we contribute. But the way we're talking about it right now in terms of pricing is what contribution we can be, what we can gift. And it's a totally different energy. So when we're trying to base it only on the logistics of, okay, well, other people in my area charge this. Or, of course, some people try to do the other thing of, okay, well, if, say, Reiki practitioners in the area charge $100, I'm going to charge $70 so I undercut people. That's not going to work either, guys, because you're not energetically aligned. And sometimes we're not energetically aligned because it's too much, as it was for me with $45. Sometimes we're not energetically aligned because it's too little. Yeah, it's a totally backwards thing, right? Because we think, oh, well, we should always go down in price. That will always be more comfortable or more aligned. No. In some cases, yes, of course. But sometimes it's the other way. And I remember, this would have been probably 2010, 2011. So I would have been in business 8-9 years. And I remember that. I remember all of a sudden, I used to always fill up my one-to-one sessions. So I would do one-to-one sessions about 4 days a week, sometimes 5, but mostly 4 days a week. And I would do 4 one-to-one sessions a day usually. And by the end of the week, the next week was usually full. So I didn't book up months in advance or anything like that, but usually by the end of the week, the following week was filled. What started happening was the following week didn't get filled. In fact, it was maybe 50%, sometimes 30%. And I was like, what is happening? What's going on? Of course, the usual, what did I do wrong type of energy. And what I actually had to acknowledge was I wasn't actually charging. What was aligned for me, I was charging too little at that point. And so once we're out of that energetical alignment with our pricing, business just doesn't flow. The money can't flow in. And it is this space of us putting up walls and barriers and really limiting what is possible for us. And again, either way. So if we go back to my example of, $45 for a Reiki session, and if I'd have known then what I know now, back then it probably would have been 25, would have been more energetically aligned. And people would say, but look at how much less you're making. But I mean, we're working off of some assumptions here, but very likely I would have been filled up, or at least close to filled up with sessions at $25 a session, compared to having maybe 1, maybe 2 sessions a week at $45. So ultimately, it would have worked out better for me financially back then to really be in alignment with the pricing. So again, this is just one part of many different pricing strategies that we'll talk about during the pricing call. I would love to have you join us. If you've got any questions or you can't find the links, reach out. I will get them for you. Have a fabulous week, sweet friends. I look forward to chatting again soon.